Hello, and welcome to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. On today's Hot Seat episode, we have Andrew Sehmann, a freelance horn player and master's student at University of Georgia in Athens. Andrew has lots of interests and wanted to get on to have some guidance on where to start in his career. Let's get started.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. Welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. So I took a look at your blog, and I also took a look at your, what you've got on Facebook. So can you, especially because the audience doesn't know who you are, can you talk a little bit about what you're doing lately, kind of what, obviously you're here for a reason, but so just tell me leading up to this and then what you're here for. I'm just interested, let everybody know what you're, who you are.
Okay. So my name's Andrew Sehmann. I'm a second-year master's student at UGA for horn performance. I also freelance around kind of in the Georgia, South Carolina area for different symphonies, church jobs, and also I teach a few lessons on the side.
Okay. Got it. Is that where you're spending most of your time right now?
Yes.
Freelancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So say more about that. What what do you enjoy doing? What have you done that you really enjoy? What do you do that you feel like you have to do? That sort of thing. I'm just curious. Do you only take jobs you want to take? Tell me about that.
Right now, I'm taking kind of everything that's offered to me because kind of a big name person in the Georgia, South Carolina area just got a job in Illinois, so a lot of things are open. And so I've been trying to kind of say yes to everything so that I can get a slightly more permanent position maybe down the line or soon-ish. There's a couple different auditions coming up too that I'm getting ready for. The dull thing about it, though, is driving to and from the different places. Augusta's the closest place to me, and it's about an hour and a half away,
Okay.
which isn't that long of a drive, but it's still a little bit dull.
Sure. Yeah, you can listen to Crushing Classical podcast on the way.
That's what I usually do.
I'm just messing with you. Okay, so a little plug for Crushing Classical podcast. So, all right, good. So tell me, what is your ultimate? First of all, tell me what has you be on this hot seat today. I'm interested in what you want to get out of this because I want to make sure you get that.
I want to honestly get career advice for maybe what might be a good next move for myself. Either just being able to know how to better talk to people isn't the right word, schmooze with different people to get more freelance jobs, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Potentially also be pushed in another direction because I'm always open to whatever can make myself money.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That makes sense. So I think the first question is, I want you to look 5 years down the road. If you could tell me what you would love to be doing at that time, what would it be?
I'll be honest, what I would love to be doing is performing in some capacity and making quite a bit more money than I'm currently making. I know that that's like the most stereotypical example, but if that did not work out, I would also love to be doing recording for a living because that's something I do on the side.
Okay, and what kind of recording?
Primarily classical music recordings, so like I do recordings for myself, obviously, because I have a bunch on my website that I've all done. But I also do it for friends. I used to work at a job in my undergrad in Kentucky where I was a recording assistant and recorded most of the faculty recitals too. And I enjoy doing that and editing.
Okay, so you record and you edit. Where did you learn how to do that, or when did you first start doing that?
So I first started picking that up when I was about a freshman in college, mostly because when you have to get in, you don't have to get into festivals, but when you are applying to festivals, you have to be able to record yourself and be able to splice tracks, whatever you might need to do, just to track in between different things that you record. If you pay someone to do that, it costs an exorbitant amount of money, and
I
I
got it.
don't have money to pay for that. And so I invested in getting a H4n, which is a little handheld recorder that you can plug it really nice microphones into.
Mm-hmm.
Got a set of nice microphones, and then I've been recording myself kind of on and off over the past couple of years and getting better and better at it.
Okay, cool. Good. So you sound like you're pretty accomplished at that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
fairly
oh,
used to
sorry.
doing it. Oops, sorry.
You're used to doing it. No,
Sorry.
no, no, no. Don't even worry about it. Yes. Sometimes I'll interrupt you. It's not personal, just so you know. Um,
Okay.
okay, good. So curious. What are the aspects of recording that just give me a few, like two or three aspects of recording that people don't understand? And I don't just mean the splicing and the editing and all that. That's part of it. But
Hmm.
what two or three things do people not understand about recording that you understand?
So the first is mic placement.
Yep, I knew you
When,
were going to say that. That's why I asked you. Go ahead.
especially, I'm a horn player like Tracy, and if you put the microphone right in the bell and don't adjust the microphone for that, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get a recording at all. You're just going to get a bunch of like static because the microphones are a bit too sensitive for that.
Okay.
Just as an example, I've had a couple of different recordings ruined because faculty at the old college that I used to go to for my undergrad would aim their bells directly at the microphone,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't have anything usable from that.
Okay, got it. Good.
Hmm.
Mic placement. What else?
Another thing is actually the equipment that you're using. A lot of people think that, oh, I can just take a recording with my phone or something along those lines. It doesn't work that way as much
Mm-hmm.
as I wish it did because it would be
Okay.
a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But you need specialized microphones generally for classical recordings. You might want ribbon microphones, which are very sensitive to like very small sounds, which is something that is always good for us as brass players, wind players, because you can hear like all of our breathing, all of that different stuff, which makes a huge difference when you're sending into festivals. Because if you can't hear the person breathing, there's a very likely chance that they have spliced together their recording and are trying to kind of get by um, on an inaccurate representation of themselves,
Okay.
which is not good.
Makes sense. Okay, good. And what else? Anything else?
Those are the two main ones because, like, editing, splicing, all of that sort of stuff is kind of common sense. It's just not something that maybe everyone knows how to do. Um, but that's not hard to
Okay,
learn.
good. So another question for you. So I asked you if in 5 years, you could be doing anything you wanted to do.
Hmm.
The first answer you gave me was performing in some capacity, making more money than you're making now. The second
Right.
answer you gave was recording for a living.
Hmm.
So I realize you gave them to me in that order. Is that the order in which you want to do them? Is that where you're at about it?
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind doing some of both. Uh,
Okay.
Currently, what basically I make all of my money from performance because at UGA I'm on an assistantship where I play in a graduate woodwind quintet, and we get a actually fairly large stipend for graduate schools. So I make about 8,000 a year doing that, and I supplement all of my extra income with performing in various churches and symphonies, as I've said before. However, I do actually enjoy doing recordings in some capacity or another.
Mm-hmm.
There's a specialized guy who does them here, so I can't like expand my business per se,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it a little bit tough. But
Say more about that guy. What's the first name? First name
uh,
is?
his name is Chris, and
Okay.
he is great. He's a good friend of mine. I actually play in a brass quintet with him. He
Okay.
plays tuba. Um, but he does basically all of the recording for the School of Music here at UGA.
Okay.
Um, and so I don't.
You mean like he records recitals for them and things like that? Things that
Yes,
official things that people sign up for their degree program, I assume.
yes, and he also does like freelance work. So if people want to get into festivals, he has a very super nice setup and records them for a relatively cheap price in recording, which is, I think it's about $75 an hour.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah,
so it sounds like that's what's kept you from starting any kind of a side hustle with this recording.
correct. Correct. I've done some friends of mine in quintet for very, very cheap, but otherwise I haven't really done that much.
Okay. And so do you think, I'm asking you a serious question, do you think that there's only room for one of you in that market?
At specifically the University of Georgia, I believe yes, but I'm also trying to get started on something in Atlanta. Um, Athens is maybe an hour from Atlanta,
So,
but
so what, okay, so what happens if, students at, let's say in Augusta or, any of the other places where
mhm,
let's say that Chris isn't available on the dates that they want. Let's
mhm,
say that you understand that the only reason why people go to Dairy Queen in a small town is because that's the only place to get ice cream. Are you aware of that?
no, I didn't actually think of it that way.
Well, that's what you got to think about, though. Seriously, is
Mhm,
Dairy Queen. What I noticed, like I used to live in Austin, Texas,
mhm,
and I've driven a lot around Texas, and I don't live there now, but I used to, and so um, when I used to drive around to the small towns, there was a Dairy Queen in every small town,
mhm,
and there's a reason they did that because um, if and truly, if you want it, of course, you can go to the grocery store and buy ice cream in a carton and take it home. But if what you want is ice cream out, you're going to go to Dairy Queen because that's the only place you're going to get
right,
it.
right,
So I think you're actually making a little bit of a mistake
okay,
thinking that your services are not wanted or needed
okay.
in the School of Music or anywhere else. You just haven't actively pursued it. So I think the question is, why haven't you pursued it?
I think the main reason is just that Chris is my friend,
I knew you were going to
and
say that. Chris is my
yeah,
friend. I knew you were going to say that. Chris is
and I
my
d-
friend.
and I don't want to take money away from him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And does it work for you for him to have an income that works for him so what you're saying is there isn't enough for all of us. There's only enough
Hmm.
for him and not enough for me. So screw
Correct.
me and he wins. You're literally deciding that he gets to win the race and you're left
Hmm.
with nothing.
Hmm.
That's kind of how you're behaving about it. So
Okay.
that's one shift I'd like to see you make is I'd like to
Okay.
see you decide that you are important and that your finances matter, that your
Hmm.
income matters, that you matter. That
Hmm.
at some point you decided I'm irrelevant. I don't matter.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting that you think that.
Yeah. I'm not sure why I think that. I guess I
It's
just
okay.
never thought of it in that way.
Yeah. Because there's plenty of business for both of you, but you would actually have to promote and market that in order for
Right.
there to be business for. Because believe me, people will buy from you.
Right.
Look, if there was a Dairy Queen and a Baskin Robbins in a town, they would both have plenty of business. I promise you.
Okay.
And I live in Phoenix, and there's a lot of ice cream stores here.
Right.
That's not something that I go to a lot, but I can tell you there's a lot of ice cream stores here, and they're all doing very well.
Hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense to you?
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, good. So that's the first thing I want to say because you can
Hmm.
very easily market that,
Hmm.
very easily. The other thing is, I'm wondering if you're taking that same approach to freelancing,
Hmm.
taking what you can get, taking scraps, whatever. I just want you to look and see if that's what's happening at all with freelancing.
There I'm not as worried about that because I am actually actively like hunting down personnel managers, finding first horns, second horns, etc. People who I could play for, who could hire me potentially down the line. Um, I'm not as worried about that. I think because I have a level of friendship with Chris is just the main reason why I wasn't sure about maybe pursuing the recording.
Okay. Well, one
Part.
thing I would recommend you do, because you guys are friends, is I would just
Mhm.
approach him and let him know, hey, listen, I know you've got all this business, and I've decided that,
Mhm.
even though you and I are friends, I want you to know that this is like commerce. This is friendly commerce. We're
Right.
both doing business, and I just
Right.
want you to know I'm going to be offering my services, and it's not against you. It's not.
Mhm.
It's not to take business away from you. It's because there's plenty of business for both of us, and you
Right.
really have to be that. You have to speak that. You have to live that.
Okay.
And also, if you think Chris, and this is the right thing to do in business, if you think Chris is a better choice for somebody, like let's say you're having a conversation with them and whatever need they have or whatever thing they're looking for, he is genuinely a better choice for some reason,
Right.
genuinely,
Mhm.
then refer it.
Right. Well, he is definitely a better choice for like high quality professional recordings.
Okay, good. And you're a better choice for what?
The festival freelance thing, because I can get the recordings done and sent to people within the same night, which it does take a while to edit, but I'm very quick at editing.
Okay, good. So, and you can charge prices comparable to Chris, so that way you guys really
Mhm.
aren't in competition. If you were
Right.
to walk into the market and undercut him, then it might seem competitive.
Yes, and I don't want to seem competitive.
Yeah, I mean you don't need to be competitive, by the way. You don't
Mhm.
have to be. You can
Okay.
at some point if you decide you want to do that.
Right.
Make
Right.
sense?
That makes
Okay,
perfect
good.
sense.
Um, what else do I want to say to you? What had you decide to go for a master's degree?
Okay, so it's kind of three reasons. I'm married, and my wife and myself both got assistantships to the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any debt of any sort, and she needs a master's degree anyways to teach because she's doing music education.
Okay.
And you have to have a master's degree within like 3 years of having started teaching in public schools, no matter what. So
Okay.
she just decided to get it now. Um, I really love the teacher here at University of Georgia, Dr. Martin Williams. And I wanted to study with her anyways because I've met her before and always thought that she was very fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm kind of getting a free ride here, that's partially why I wanted to get a master's degree.
Okay.
Third is I've always kind of considered doing a doctorate because I do enjoy doing the academic side of things, which is not usual for a musician.
Yep.
I honestly enjoy doing the classwork here.
Okay. Good. Good. So that makes sense. So a couple of things. I was looking at your blog. I looked at the link on your blog, and so what's not clear for me about you is where you're headed.
Okay.
That's not necessarily a problem, except that will not solve your income problem.
Right. Right.
Right. Part of doing well financially is making a choice, making a decision about what you're going to do. And that's what I'd like to see you do sooner than later. Either you're either going to go the academic path and plow all the way through your doctorate and get that university position or whatever it is thing you want to do, or you're going to nail down horn performance. And I think the horn performance meaning being a performer. And I think that's the danger, by the way, of freelancing. Freelancing is really interesting that one of the things you wanted to get out of this call was, how to schmooze, how to get more freelance jobs. It's almost like you think that winning a job is a bunch of people are going to like me and I'll show up for an audition and they'll go, oh, we really like playing with him, so we're going to pick him.
Right.
I think the question is, do you want to win a job or do you want to edge your way into a job?
I'll be honest, either way would be nice, but I'm trying to keep my options.
Yeah, and that's not a decision.
And I know that that's not a decision.
It's not. You're basically saying, I'm going to, instead of becoming an amazing horn player, I'm going to don't, and part, I'm characterizing it, so don't go anywhere with this.
Right.
I'm going to half-ass my playing, but I'm going to be a great human, and they're going to choose me.
Right.
So I mean, really, that's what you have to decide. You don't have to decide it right now, but that's what you got to decide, right? You have to decide,
Right.
am I going to be a badass horn player that, like I know I'm high horn or I know I'm low horn, whatever position you're
Right.
looking for, and go after it with everything you've got as a player, not as a schmoozer, or I'm going to take the academic path. And listen, there's no right way, but I'm just clear you haven't chosen.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I want to be a very, very good player. I think I'm doing okay in that path so far, just having done a couple national competitions and won some competitions against all instruments, but
right,
yeah.
But if you want to be a horn player, the only thing you got to beat is another horn player.
Yep, I know.
Right?
I know. Yep.
At the end, you know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I'm not trying to bust your balls here. I want you to think about this because
no, that's good.
Right? There's a big difference between I'm going to win. I mean, seriously, let's look 5 years into the future. What symphony would you love to be playing? And just tell me.
I would love to be playing with Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay, good. What position?
High horn preferably, but I also know that the two people who have the high horn positions are not going to be leaving anytime soon.
Okay, so but we know for sure that you want a high horn position. Let's say it wasn't in Atlanta, but there were high horn positions available. That's what you would want.
Correct.
And would you want that above being a university or academic professor of some kind?
I think so, yes.
What's the hesitation for you?
I honestly enjoy doing teaching. And while that's not something that I would have to give up, if I got a symphony job, it would be a lot harder to teach effectively, if that makes sense.
Because what are you teaching? What do you enjoy teaching? What's the part that you enjoy teaching?
I enjoy seeing my students progress at like a regular pace.
You mean like horn players? You mean horn players, right? Okay.
Yes.
Because when you say teaching, it could be academic, right? It could be music theory, right? I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So you're talking horn students.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Got it. Well, and the truth is that you could, you know a lot of people who take high horn jobs and then they end up teaching at University of whatever because they got a high horn job, right?
Right.
That happens.
Yes,
that happens all the time, right? So the question is, what would you go after first? Would you go, I mean, and really, I'm asking you to really look, which would you go after first? Would you go after the high horn job that leads to that professor position, which you know you'd probably get? Or or would you go after the horn teaching job and do performing on the side? Preference would be A or B?
My preference would definitely be A.
There you go. So the question is, and really you want to look at this, is freelancing as much as you are, because I know you're freelancing your ass off right now. I mean, in fact, we almost couldn't fit this call in because you're such a busy guy. I know that, right?
Sorry.
No. Listen, no apologies needed. I don't have a problem with it at all. But I just want you to look, right? Is freelancing as much, and as like, I understand the money aspect, by the way. I'm not ignoring the money aspect, but I'm shelving the money aspect for a minute to ask you a career question, which is freelancing at the level and depth and whatever that you are getting you any closer to that high horn spot
right
in a
now,
major symphony?
Right now, yes, because 2 years ago, there was an open position at Atlanta, which is the closest major symphony to me. I wasn't even able to audition because I didn't have enough quote-unquote experience. And now I'm playing principal with a couple different regional orchestras, or like regularly subbing for principal, I guess is the correct term. But I think that might be able to at least get me to be able to audition there, because sometimes it's just a matter of they don't think you're experienced enough, even if you might be.
Okay. So what does experienced enough look like? what has to be on your resume in order for them to think you're experienced enough to audition?
Having played with more than maybe one regional orchestra, maybe one small audition, which I was very close to doing one time, and then I choked in the last round.
Okay, so like you mean like advancing in auditions?
Not just advancing, but actually winning the audition for a major symphony like Atlanta.
Okay.
You would probably have to have at least won one job to be able to be considered either to show up or to be invited, something along those
Sure,
lines.
that makes sense.
I wonder if I can interject.
Yeah, please do. I was going to actually ask you, Tracy, if you had something to add here because I know you've done this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can always go to an audition even if they don't invite you.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's your right. And especially if you're in the union.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't invite you, you can still go. It's like a rule with the union. And the other thing is,
Okay. That's
the
good.
other
I honestly didn't know that. Thank you.
yeah,
Beautiful.
and if you haven't, for your experience, there's no, some orchestras don't have any rules. They invite everybody. I know this this is the case for Chicago Symphony Orchestra, surprisingly
Right.
enough. If you have nothing on your resume, you're still allowed to come. They might send you a letter that says you might want to consider sending a CD first because you can save your money. And some orchestras will say you're not invited until you send a CD, which you can do. I wanted to audition for Boston, and I had a pretty good resume with having won a job and playing a lot of professional situations, and they still wanted me to send a CD.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do it. And then I then got accepted because of the CD. So you can, your experience can be whatever you say it is. And if you've taken, let's pretend you've taken 3 or 4 auditions, and you got in the semifinals, and that one you got in the finals, you can have a small section on your resume that says audition experience or something.
Right.
And what I did was I think I probably had audition experience in there until my professional playing experience that was valid to have on my resume took up enough space.
Right.
But I don't think, putting 30 different small orchestras that you've played with professionally, like that's not going to make a person invite you or not invite you. Just that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's helpful. So I think what I'd like to see, because right now what it sounds like is you're throwing pastrami, salami, bologna, liver sausage, liverwurst, cow tongue, and cheddar cheese at the wall to see what's going to stick.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you're doing. Oh, yeah, and that disgusting, what's that called? Pimento loaf? Olive loaf?
Yeah,
not a fan.
Not good. No, I'm not
a fan. But anyway, it just seems like you're throwing lunch meat at the wall to see what's going to stick. And it's just what's missing for me is strategy. I don't feel like right now you have a strategy for what. And part of the reason you don't have a strategy is because you haven't decided.
Right.
Right. And so it was interesting information that Tracy just gave about what you can audition for. And I was kind of surprised to hear. Of course, I never got on the audition track, but didn't realize that they really can't prevent you from coming and auditioning. And I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
I honestly did not realize about that, so that's great information.
There are many urban. I want to just share. There are many stories. I mean, 2 or 3 stories that I can think of where I've heard people that were not invited and showed up anyway, and they won. The committee didn't think they should show up based on what they thought their resume looked like, and the person won the job. So you can't. They try to do this to. They want less people to show up because then they, if they have like 150 people sending in.
Right.
That's time that they have to take or whatever. So it's up to you. It's your right to show up. And I think also I think freelancing is fine, certainly, and you've got to find time to refine your playing to a point that you become an amazing auditioner.
Right.
You really do. And the question is, are you leaving enough time for that? I think that's what my big concern is right now about this
Right.
salami technique you have going. There's just no strategy in what you're doing, and it's only because you haven't decided. And until you decide, you're going to keep doing the salami technique.
Right.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm. No,
So,
that makes perfect sense.
yeah, that's what I'd like to see you do is decide. Look, I don't care if you drive all over Georgia doing freelancing, but if it's not going to net you what you want at the end, that you're just not willing to declare. That's actually the issue is that you haven't declared it and you're not aiming in one direction. That's actually the issue isn't that you're freelancing all over Georgia. The issue is that you haven't decided and therefore you are freelancing all over Georgia.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I think that's it. Tracy, do you want to add anything else?
No, well, actually, yeah, really briefly, I want to say, I did the thing a little, not exactly like Andrew, because it wasn't in the same state, but it's similar. I mean,
yeah, Tracy auditioned in many states and she freelanced in many states. She didn't just stick to one. In that way, you're a little smarter. Andrew, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
oh my God.
I'm totally messing with you. You know I am.
Yeah. So I freelanced all around too, thinking for some reason I thought that was the path to
Right.
a job. And it didn't make sense, actually, looking back on it, You want to feel like you're a real musician by playing and performing. And that's part of it.
Right.
You want to feel like I am doing the thing that I say I am. I'm a horn player. So I have this gig lined up. See, it's true. It's true. I have a concert, And so but then when you have to look at it, I used to drive to South Bend, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Springfield, Illinois, and all around the Chicago area. And that's a lot of time in the car that I'm not practicing. And sometimes those orchestras, a lot of times they were really quality players. I mean, because a lot of people are doing the same thing. But sometimes you get into a situation, you're like, maybe this isn't really benefiting my playing that much. Maybe this is a struggle. Maybe this is harder than it needs to be or whatever. And you could be practicing and getting ready for an audition. And let's be clear, when you want to win an audition, you have to be really, really great.
You got to
have to have a lot of all your problems have to be solved on the horn, and then on top of that, the mental side of just being able to kill it at the audition.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the most important 5 minutes of your life, essentially, every time you do it.
Yeah,
and so that's what that's what's missing for me right now is because truly, if you were going to get a horn teacher job, that's a separate path from what you're doing right now.
Right.
It's a totally different path. You need to gain credibility in multiple areas, not just in playing. There's a pedagogy side to that, right? So if you haven't chosen that path, you're not going to be building that, and you're sort of half-assing that road. If you are, if you're not choosing the horn performance side, you're sort of half-assing that road, and that's what I see right now. Is just like I said, the salami technique. It's not only not going to solve your income problem, but it's not going to solve your career fulfillment problem either. You're sort of sitting on the fence waiting for the wind to blow.
Right.
Right. Which way is it going to blow me? This way or this way? Right. So I have a challenge for you. My challenge for you is today is Wednesday, March 22nd. By 1 week from today, I want you to choose what your path is. That's my challenge. Okay. Now, whether you do or you don't is up to you, but it's an invitation and it's a challenge both.
Right.
Because until you decide you're going to do this salami thing, it's just, you're going to get whatever you end up with. And it won't be something you chose.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Cool. Do you accept the challenge?
Yes.
Boom. So will you message us by next? By the way, it could be before Wednesday, it could be Friday. I don't care. Can you message us and let us know?
Yes.
All right. Good.
Awesome.
Perfect. Good. That's it. That's all I've got.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad you accepted the challenge. That's pretty exciting. I can't wait to
Very
hear what you
exciting.
say.
I know, me neither. I know. I'm like, I'm already over here guessing what he's going to say, but I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that to Andrew. We'll see.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out. I think I have a feeling what I know he's going to pick, but then following what he picks, what will be the next actions taken. But let's not, that comes after the decision. So the decision is the hardest part, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So
It always
great.
is.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. This was great. And thanks, Eileen, for the hot seat. And if anyone is listening right now and thinks that they would want to do this too, it's a great opportunity. So private message me on Facebook or Instagram and let me know. And we'll get you set up. So thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.